Abe, would you say that's like the size of a gun barrel?
I'd say, I mean, like a
Roughly?
rifle. That's like
Rifle?
that's like a silencer
What does he
rifle.
have? He has like a handgun?
He's got like a handgun, but yeah, I guess maybe like the verticality. You're trying to put it in your mouth right now. Yeah, he's shoving it right in there.
Well, he says you can only say vowels, and my point is like k.
You can do consonants fine. Is your argument here?
Your M's, you got your G's.
Yeah.
He could say gams. He could say gams.
He could say gams.
He abdicated that opportunity.
No one would bat an eye. Well, that's always a good way to start a podcast. Is Michael Swain putting a hypothetical gun in his mouth and asking me questions, and I feel like I need to answer.
Yeah.
But that's right. You're at Frame Rate, where we rate frames. I'm Abe Epperson. That's Michael Swain, the gunman. And I would ask you, Michael, what's the first rule of Frame Rate, where we rate frames?
Almost got me. I don't know.
That's right. That's a good answer, because otherwise we'd have too many guests to handle.
Problems. Yeah.
Too many problems, because you'd just be talking willy-nilly.
No, let's beat the shit out of this guy.
But we got one guy that we plan to have here.
To just jump in. So
I want to introduce Will Poole, our guest for today's episode on Fight Club.
I'm giddy. Welcome, Will.
Welcome, Thanks for having me, guys. I appreciate it. Yeah, I won't dime who let me know about y'all's show.
Thank you.
It may or may not rhyme with cycle fame.
Zach O'Brien.
Yes,
right.
yes.
Yeah, no, I know. Yeah. If
one of those two.
You've heard Will on TDZ. I know you've been on TDZ. Do you guest on other pods much?
Yeah, I've been on Creature Feature a few times, and House of Pod, and TDZ.
Okay. Creature Feature rules too. Okay.
Yeah. And,
you may know Will as Kristi Yamaguccimane on any number of social media platforms, where he dominates with his charm and wit and incisive commentary in that way where it causes you problems, right?
Every once in a while.
Recently.
Yeah.
But that's good for us. Now we can say your name's Will. So yeah, but please follow if you've ever seen any kind of social media roundup with a line by Kristi Yamaguccimane, now you know.
That is
Will
me
this whole time.
Yep.
It's almost a new genre of comedy writer. Like how in the 50s we had magazine writers. We have like, oh, you've seen his work.
Yeah.
Just somewhere.
Regurgitated usually on like iFunny or Facebook like 6 to 8 months later, or Instagram roundups of like tweets of the week or something.
All your funny shit would not be aggregatable without the work of Will.
It's true. It's very true.
But having heard you on Daily Zeitgeist, I was like, this dude can talk with his mouth real good too. And so let's get him into our pool. I did not mean to do that. Recurring guests, and so excited that Will picked, or eventually we landed on, I forget how actually, 1999's Fight Club, because man, we've always wanted to go back to it. The narrative in sort of the echo chamber circles we end up in is that, oh, you go back and you watch this and you can't believe how eye-rolly it is in retrospect. I'm just setting that as the framework. I had not seen it since 1999, which is when it came out. Will, Kristi, what's your Fight Club experience? Why did you shout out, oh, let's cover that one of anything on the list? And when's the last time you saw it?
Last time I saw it was probably in college, and probably I'm 14 years old when this movie comes out, right? So I'm just like, it's like peak. I think we all would have been around that age. I'm just
so you haven't revisited. So were you like me, wondering like, how is this going to hit now?
Yeah, I absolutely was wondering that, and I hate to say it, like it hit so good for me. Like I really dug it still. I really dug it for different reasons though, right? Like when you're 14, it's just, it just feels cool. You know, you don't know why, you don't know really what the, like, you don't have a super understanding, or you might not be able to digest exactly what the politics are trying to say in the movie. At least I didn't, right? I was just like, damn, these dudes are beating the shit out of each other. This rules. And that's it. That was the long and short of it. And then my peon brain was fried, and then I was like, oh shit, what's this movie called? The Matrix. It's 1999. This is fucking crazy. You know, like all those, like a bunch of cool ass movies. I forget what else came out that year, but like American Beauty, I think came out that year. It's big year for movies, especially if you're 14 years old.
In the shower, I can jerk off in the shower.
Exactly.
That's brilliant.
Yes. Yeah. Exactly.
Sorry, that's all American Beauty unlocked for me.
Yeah, 99's peak. The Mummy came out. I'm just gonna shout out The Mummy.
Like probably the greatest year in
it's a good
cinema
year
history.
Till like 2007, probably. Yeah.
Probably. So. Basically, I remember liking it at the time, and I'm sure I watched it many times in college. Before we started rolling, we were talking about how like it's one of the first DVD packages, like special edition packaging. Remember when there was that trend to include like merch, like you could get a bar of soap if you bought this like $40 special edition Fight Club DVD package with all the director's cut and the extra stuff in it. I bought the Snatch version of that, which had like a deck of cards and poker chips in it. And so I just remember.
I was hoping it would just also be soap, and it would just have a picture of Brad Pitt from Snatch and say, "You like dags?" So you're like, I don't understand what this is.
Soap for the
what
masses.
What a good promo item. Yeah.
So yeah, I remember liking it a lot. I remember the posters were everywhere in college, obviously. And Brad Pitt, you know, aka Tyler Durden, just like he just looked cool, right? Like all these dudes. Yeah. I didn't ever want, my hairline started receding very quickly in college, so I was never able to pull that look off. Or
as I watched Fight Club.
Yes, yeah. As I watched Fight Club, my hair literally disappeared.
Oh no! But yeah, my abs. I had abs when I watched it, but I just got real fat.
Yeah, exactly.
I grew bitch tits, to quote this movie.
And so, and then obviously as the years go by, it turns into what it does in the manosphere and early internet stuff, and you know, anonymous accounts called Tyler Durden, you know, preaching to you about how to be a man and stuff. So, yeah, it's got a weird it's had a weird second life in the past couple decades, but I dug it at the time, and rewatching it, I kind of liked it still. You know, I don't know if that makes me toxic or not, but
I don't think so. As we go around the horn, I will let Abe go next because I've talked more, but I'm interested to see if he also kind of came away with a similar, because we agree often.
Yeah.
And I had a very clear and concise takeaway. Abe, what did you think?
Well, it sounds like, because I'm with Will kind of. I think that there is, and I want kind of, if I had any ways about it, this podcast to kind of dissect the nuances of like what's going on here, and why do we have both admire it. It's in our top 10 lists of best movies like ever, but also there's like a collective shame around the film, and like why that might be. Maybe shame's not the right word, but I also I watched it when I was 14 because we're all the same age, and then I watched it probably in college or something like that, and then I hadn't seen it for the last 10-20 years. So like I was not expecting how much of like the punk aesthetic that it was, like, it's not aesthetic, the punk attitude of this film was like kind of on point at times. Like that I'm like, that's actually a really good anti-capitalist statement, or the way in which that's presented is really profound. And then you match it with the stuff where it's just like, oh, let's just hit each other as hard as we can. And you're like, yeah, I roll on that stuff. But that eye roll, which I was expecting to be more continuous throughout the film, was really only present on like, I don't know, the Jared Leto scenes.
I love the Letos in there. Yeah, to put it in a nutshell, also having recently watched The Killer, Fincher movie Killer, I was hoping, I went in with fingers crossed going, it's a Starship Troopers, isn't it? And I was like, if it's not, then it's actual toxic masculinity. And I am very sensitive to that. And I'll probably come away being with a really preachy opinion about this. And no, it is. It's dark satire. And I was like, oh, thank God. I think that, and I think we should, and it would do us a service to point out why. And we can talk about how, or just observe again that, like Starship Troopers and many other satires that ride the line. And now looking back, I realize Fincher loves us. Fincher loves grim, deadpan irony. So The Killer was this movie where like you could easily watch it and walk away with the message, what was that about? It was about nothing? Or it was just about a generic killer?
Guy just killed some guys? Cool.
But if you understand it as almost a political cartoon satire, you go, oh, he killed that guy because that's what's wrong with America today. He killed that guy because that's what's wrong with America today.
Yeah, he's trying to kill those people.
He eats himself because he's what's wrong with America today. So and I was like, oh, it was a big awakening for me when smart film people told me as a 25-year-old, no, Starship Troopers is good, actually. Watch it again, knowing that, yeah, he's anti-capitalist and he thinks the book is stupid. Right. And then you watch it and go, oh, this is actually hilarious.
Well, I wouldn't say he thinks the book is stupid. No, I think Plinick, but he's just not as nuanced.
No, not Fight Club. Sorry, I'm saying Starship Troopers director.
Oh, Starship Troopers. Yeah,
Paul Verhoeven thinks that Heinlein is a right-wing nutjob, which he was if you fully understand all that. And he is aware of that and he knows it. And that's why it's like, oh, those propaganda things are stupid because he's saying propaganda is stupid. And if you saw Trump dropping shit on protesters, it feels like Starship Troopers shit. And in that way where it's like, I do think subtle satire like this is completely lost on most of the public. And that's not Fincher's fault, but it's true. But like, we're all wrong. It's pretty transparent if you meet it at the top of your intelligence that like Ed Norton's wrong. Like the big one that blew my mind was where he has this, of course, famous monologue with the IKEA thing where he talks about, among other things, like, you think that's your answer, right? You walk through the IKEA ad and you're happy, blah, blah, blah. Then Ed Norton very pointedly does all this other shit where he lives off the grid and owns nothing and blah, blah, blah. And the point of the movie is he's equally unhappy and confused and doesn't know what's going on.
Yeah,
it's not that. And then it works out and he's Rick from Rick and Morty and everyone sucks his dick. No, it's like you're fucked either way because capitalism made you fucked either way. Is a pretty clear takeaway. It's not saying everyone be Tyler Durden.
I had on loop in my head while I was watching this, like after like the midpoint where it's that the Tim Robinson sketch from I Think You Should Leave. What have they done to us? Where he yells about like how somehow he thought that was going to kill him, and his next thought was I don't have to go to work tomorrow, so that makes me happy. And he's like, what have they done to us?
And, dude, it just how do we really as a society not recognize the irony of a guy staring at camera saying, we were promised we'd be movie stars and millionaires, and we're not, and we're pissed. Who's saying that to you? Brad Pitt.
Yeah,
he's exactly. A millionaire movie star. And he actually, to me, that's a disarmingly self-aware choice that Brad Pitt, despite all he's been through in terms of living a bubbled life, thinks it's funny. Like, he obviously gets the irony of himself saying that. Yeah. Like, I think it is satire, and everyone involved knew it was, except most of us.
Yeah.
And we were all like, that was sick, bro. That guy was sick. Did you see that, Tyler Durden? That guy was sick.
It's like,
not their fault.
I get so annoyed when satire is done so well that people, and usually it is like, I remember this happening with Borat, where there's a lot of like jokey anti-Semitism in there, done by a Jewish guy, right? But then people like, and mainly it was like liberals and progressives going like, yeah, he shouldn't have made that because people don't get that it's like it's satirizing anti-Semitism, and it's like you can't make your art based on the dumbest common denominator. You know, it's not his fault that people don't get it and take the wrong message away from it in that instance. Like Fincher made a great movie with a great message. Like the populace is just stupid a lot of times. You know, it's like I don't think that's always, obviously sometimes if you don't do it properly, it can walk the line. But I think he did a really good job in hindsight, and I think that most of the people watching it taking away the wrong message were just like we were 15 years old at the time.
Well, dude, when
100%,
the fact that Ed Norton like the whole point is, which is so funny. I think the eye rolly argument is that you go back and go, Ed Norton's character's pain is laughable. Which I also take issue with, because actually I think no one's pain is laughable if you've lived through any kind of human pain.
Sure.
Even if you are a privileged shithead, inside of your mind, pain is pain. Like, I don't know. But regardless, even if you are like, I buy the argument of like, this white upper middle class guy who's doing fine, we don't care about your pain. Fine, let's play the Pain Olympics. Through that lens, I still think the movie is way ahead of its time with how it views Ed Norton, because it's really interesting, having read a lot of Palahniuk. He obviously does, non-ironically, care about masculinity, which is something that it's difficult to care about or talk about without it sound like you are being a like Joe Rogan alpha brain or whatever you want to like.
The male loneliness pandemic or epidemic.
And I don't care about that much, because I'm just not that in touch with masculinity personally in my life. But I do think it's an interesting road to hoe for men who are concerned about what is it to be a man. It's like you can barely talk about it or whatever. So it's just interesting that this is getting, even all the way back then, taken totally in bad faith, when it's like it has all the clues. Like Ed Norton blew up his own condo, spoilers for Fight Club, because he is, right? The idea conceptually is he visited this pain upon himself because he thought the source of his upsetness, he thought he was discontented because of his perfect cookie cutter life.
Sure.
Then within weeks, he's telling Helena Bonham Carter, I live in a toxic dump. You try living there. And it's like, now you don't like it there? I thought this was your cool bachelor pad. And like, they litter. It's important that they litter. They don't. It's like I think there is subtlety in Fight Club, whereas like I got from this watch the observation that masculinity does involve owning up for your own consequences. We learned that. Ed Norton at the end literally says that. But something toxic masculinity often confuses is masculinity involves never cleaning anything up. And like, I think the movie actually does a really interesting poetic, like, juxtaposition between literally these dudes don't clean up after themselves, which is like a masculine trait, versus, but isn't it masculine to own the consequences of your actions as you move through this world? So it's asking you to think about and square those things. And I think a lot of people's answer to that, I'll stop harping on the audience and we can just dive into the movie, but it's funny and sad that a lot of people took that as, yeah, a real man embraces consequences and litters. It's right. Like, they were juxtaposing those in an interesting way. That wasn't a checklist of everything Tyler Durden does is cool and we do, obviously, or I think we all agree. But like he says, self-improvement is masturbation. No, self-destruction, ... And I think the film answers is also masturbation.
Or
And that's an interesting question. Can you do anything that's not just enforcing
off
your own agenda or viewpoint, or making your own pain special when out there's someone getting crushed under rubble, starving to death, and you can always do that math, right? Like, well, isn't their pain more painful? I don't know.
Do you want to hear a relevant quote from Fincher about
that? Yeah.
He said, I love this idea that you can have fascism without offering any direction or solution. Isn't the point of fascism to say this is the way that we should be going? But this movie couldn't be further from offering any kind of solution, which I think is a good way to delineate. Like, so there's people utilize this kind of propagandistic cult mentality for any number of reasons, usually fascism, because they want to kill, people of color or whatever. This movie is like, what's your point? There's an anti-capitalist message, but in terms of the search of self that I think that you're talking about,
what is Project
he doesn't
Mayhem
know
about?
where he's going.
Yeah.
The whole point is like in the cave, slide, it's like, just go for the ride,
Well, dude,
man. You have no control.
Slide. And I love the idea in retrospect of the reveal of, philosophically, what if you felt totally lost in life and then you met a guy who seemed to have it all together? So you go, I'll just worship and do whatever this guy says. Yeah. And then you find out he's an aspect of your own mental illness. That's poignant and true about life. That there is no one there to figure this out for you.
That's literally half
like
of
these
online
takeaways
male...
are real and good.
Yeah, it is.
That's
online.
Most male online personas or like
the whole
Twitter
fucking
accounts.
Point is there is no Tyler Durden.
Yeah,
You're fucked.
yeah.
You have to do it for yourself, motherfucker.
It's and also I was struck kind of by, there were certain elements into it that at the same time that like he's living in this like dilapidated house, you see these guys tending these gardens outside and like meticulously landscaping, and like they're it's basically like a boot camp almost. And there's a point in the movie where he says Fight Club became the reason to trim your nails, to keep your hair cut short. Like there's these Jordan Peterson aspects to the movie as well, where it would seemingly fly in the face of like some of the other, how to be a man aspects, which is like we litter, we don't give a shit about anything, we're kind of nihilists, to a degree. But it just kind of goes to show you that like there is no concrete one set of one philosophical set of rules to being a man. It's like everybody is kind of taking what they need in any given moment. There is no one answer to absolutely everything on how to do this shit. You kind of have to figure it out as you go. And Edward Norton is playing both sides of that throughout the entire movie. And masterclass done on Fincher's part. The littering thing I picked up on too, Michael. Like when they're going to the house for the first time and he just chunks that beer bottle. I was like I hadn't remembered that aspect of the movie, and then watching throughout just how much they litter throughout, and like how that is kind of done as this like, I don't know what the say, devil may care, like, who gives a shit kind of like nihilism throughout, but it's a perfect sprinkling of that.
I love that moment that you pointed out, because we've all had that moment where when in retrospect, when we look back at that moment, we're like, we're such, like, that's kind of embarrassing that we felt that way. But in that moment, that throwing of the beer for Edward Norton, and he's not throwing it in the street, which Tyler does, but he throws it in the yard, which is already fucked anyway, so it doesn't matter. But to him, you can, like, I feel like a visceral experience with that, because that's like I am understood. This is a victory. I feel seen.
Freedom.
And this is me taking it back, baby.
Society. Yeah.
Anytime you've ever felt that as a person, you're like, this is great. I feel like I'm being me now. And it's such a red herring. It's such a way in which we teach ourselves this is positivity, when in actuality, when you look at the events of what you've done, what have you accomplished? You're just meandering and feeling good for yourself.
And it's okay to indulge or have fun. Like, I'll go throw glass bottles at a wall.
Yeah, there's no
get
problem.
to throw glass bottles at a wall. But like everything in moderation. Or I also think about it, a lot of it as extremes, right? His reaction was legitimate and yet too much. Like, you can care about masculinity without thinking things like when he's like, for example, he literally is a pain tourist, which is of course what he hates in Helena Bonham Carter, but it's like, you can't see that you yourself are that, of course. And
Pain Olympics.
And then that feels like that is striking at the heart of the loneliness epidemic in a real non-ironic way, right? Is the poetry of, he needs to feel feelings and connected to other humans, and society doesn't allow that for him. There's nowhere for him to do that. So he has to find this weird thing where he lies and goes to, and like that as an offer from Polaniak is like, I see what you're doing there and I believe it's genuine. Like that statement feels genuine.
Yeah.
We're in a loneliness epidemic,
sure.
he seems to say. And there is an issue with what does it mean to be a man? I don't have any male friends and I don't blah, blah, blah. But then I just think it's so interesting that they very strictly and repeatedly, when he's like, everything's bad is about your dick and everything's good is about your dick, if whatever Tyler's talking. So it's a thing of moderation where it's like, yes, your dick is an important part of your identity, but Tyler Durden takes it so far that frankly, I roll my eyes at myself thinking he was cool. He's stupid. Like, it's dumb. Like, I'm watching Battlestar Galactica right now with Cody Johnson for another pod we're doing, and Starbuck is stupid. Sonic the Hedgehog is stupid. These things I thought were cool are trying way too hard. And I think Tyler falls into that camp. He has like a fucking leopard print fur coat and a mesh undershirt, right? And tries to act like he's not trying hard. But the point is, when Ed Norton says Bob's too honest, the problem is he has bitch tits and he gives me a big rubbery one. Did you try to connect with Bob to get an erection? Is that why we're here? To get hard erections? And like, when, I forget when it is, but Brad Pitt's like, it could be worse. She could cut your dick off and throw it out a car window, which I assume is a reference to the Lorraine Bobbitt thing at the time. But I'm like, my dick isn't my only like, how's your dick? Good? Then you're doing good. How's your dick? Bad? Then you're doing bad. Mm-hmm. And I think it's funny and intentional satire that for Tyler Durden it is. How's it hanging? No, I literally mean your dick. Oh, it's good? Then we're doing good, buddy. And the film seems to say, yeah, you can't navigate life that way either. Or you can, but it's like you're equally just a hollow dummy. Oh. Because if you think about it, Tyler Durden's plan is he just wants it to be The Last of Us. That's stupid. That's a stupid dream. Or like, it's just he wants to shut down society.
It's just an apt observation that like that is how most men perceive how their life is going, is how
it's
they're
like, I should be hunting with a bow and arrow. That's what I should be doing.
It's a barometer for like for how is my dick, am I getting laid on a regular basis? Then things are going great. If I'm not, then it is a fucking crisis right now, you know? Like I agree with you. I think Polaniak's observation there is incredibly astute and accurate and worse than it's ever been when it comes to men and how they perceive how their life is going. A lot of that's, you know, he couldn't have seen how bad social media was going to make things in 1999 or whenever the book actually came out. But holy shit, has it only gotten worse? It is.
Well, yeah, since this movie,
it's insane, and like the Edward Norton's character needing to go to those meetings, and I think Chuck Palahniuk was making the observation that like men are stupid enough to think that the only way that we can have a sense of community is to beat the piss out of each other, and like that will fix everything. Like that's
hilarious.
That is exactly that is
we
that
just
is
need
their
to
solution.
Get back to fighting more. Yeah, we just need to beat each other.
But like that, or like, and I don't even think he is telling you, yes, this is the answer to everything. He's just saying, no, if given the opportunity, this is the stupid path men will take. You know, like they will.
Yeah, exactly.
Like it's the joke of like men will beat the piss out of each other before going to therapy. You know, and it's kind of that observation made in the late 90s.
Oh yeah. Man, and then the fairly subtly plant payoff that I completely was not consciously lodged until this watch for me is the idea that Ed Norton or like The Machinist. Have you seen The Machinist, the Christian Bale?
Yes. Yeah.
Similar mechanic where at the end the reveal is right, like the guilt has driven him to take refuge in a false narrative we've been watching, and at the end you go, oh, it was all guilt. So like the fact that clearly his pain that he can't reconcile is so crystallized in his job. But I love that the screenplay never addresses it. And Ed Norton's character, who's a name do we ever get? I don't know his name, but
I think it's just the narrator.
Yeah, the narrator.
Unnamed narrator is how he's credited in the script. Even
and in the book,
even Edward Norton in the commentary, they talked about his name being Jack, but it's funny because the movie itself points out that he's reading books. He's like, what are these books?
From a book
and
read.
Jack is a writer, but you could also see it as that is himself. He's disassociated.
Right. But the idea is he is quite literally an everyman. That's the poetic
the point is he doesn't need him.
He's just a guy. So
only in
death. We can make all these.
Only in death
does he get a name.
Yep.
Yeah.
But dang it, where was I going with this?
Which is like such a perfect masculine war. Like I love that.
Oh, sorry, but that clearly his pain is so crystallized by the fact that if you haven't watched it in a long time, he literally does the symbolically perfect job. In fact, my gripe about this movie is it's actually more sort of on the nose than I remembered in some regards. But
it's 99, baby.
But I still didn't get it, so it wasn't on the nose enough. But regardless, his job is he's an insurance adjuster. So he quantifies pain. So the scene that they show is he goes and he calculates that even though this family burned alive in this faulty car, it's just barely not worth it to issue a recall notice. So like his face is always ground in the cold capitalist calculus of, is a single human life worth infinite
pain versus money?
It's not worth infinite money. No. And that's the harsh reality of capitalism. And that endless pain in him is what actually rouses this whole journey. And I think it's a really bold artistic move that he's not aware of that. It's like someone who goes to therapy but doesn't make the connection. Like Tony Soprano has this going on. Even by the end, Ed Norton never really puts his finger on the fact that doing that work was dehumanizing him. And two things I want to point out. One, a guy who we only see in that scene who was cast because he looks like a creepy mortician and goes, they died, they burned alive, and he acts like it's funny. He ends up being a member of Project Mayhem, and no one mentions it. We see a reveal that he's in the car with them. So that shows that Ed Norton, who secretly, of course, is Tyler Durden and founded this, he doesn't have standards. The guy who was a ghoul about the thing that originated his pain is welcome in the club. Like, that says something, as does the fact that he didn't even know he was in the club, as does the fact that Ed Norton finds out dirt on the insurance company and realizes he could use it to extort them. And rather than doing like an Aaron Brockovich, where he extorts them to fix the horrible burning alive or become a whistleblower, right? He extorts them for more money and free time at home so he can continue Fight Club. And I think that is like the moment where I was like, okay, Fincher knows what he's saying.
Right.
Ed Norton is not to be idolized. This is not like a guide to living. Because like, look, this was with the boss guy who looks like Kevin Spacey, Zach Grenier, or West Side, that character actor. It's like, if that happened to IRL, that guy is a shitty boss, but Ed Norton is the lunatic.
Yeah,
like,
absolutely.
If a guy comes in and goes like, you're complicit in a chain of corporate evil, therefore I'm going to beat myself up until you give me free days off, you're the lunatic, my friend. And I like that the Zach, that his boss character is, for that whole scene, is just like, what's going on? This is weird.
Yeah.
This is weird what you're doing right now.
In that moment, in that scene, the fantasy for me is not anything to do with Fight Club. It's just like, man, more vacation time, free paycheck. Like, that would be sick, dude. Like,
I did think it was like The Graduate.
Away. What did they do to us?
Where they give you the like, wouldn't you always love to tell off your asshole boss? But I realized through this rewatch, it's not Office Space. That boss wasn't that bad. I think the movie is making the point of that boss is like kind of befuddled when he comes back and goes, you've always been standing on my nuts, man, and I'm fucking over it. He's like, oh, okay.
Yeah, it's like you've spent your entire career working to this position, and now you're acting like we're insane for asking you for things that your job requires. Like those reports that so sorry I asked you to 3-ring binder some reports for me.
It's like, and you're covered in bruises and shit. Yeah, does that trouble you? Yeah, it kind of does. And we, the audience, are like, yeah, he's being fairly reasonable, man. Like, he's just asking you about your bruises. He's not. Yeah,
but also,
not
like,
he's the
man, dude.
But he's the man.
Yeah.
I love it.
Get him.
I really liked it. I really like it.
It's so good. I'm glad this movie was
so
chosen.
meta aware.
Yeah.
Like I didn't realize, I think a part of the reason it went over my head is like that brilliant, the moment that I now think, oh, that's brilliant, that Brad Pitt is yelling at you. Don't you get it? You should be a movie star. Right. You deserve to be a movie star and you're not. And you're looking at Brad Pitt's face, who's been a movie star since he was a young man. That's so meta that my brain in 1999 wasn't even ready to clock that.
Again, like we're 14, 15 years old.
But neither was my dad, who was a savvy film watcher.
Yeah.
I don't think he was ready for meta shit at that level to register to him. Not that no one could be, but I'm just saying I think adults also missed it at the time.
Oh, for sure they did.
I remember a lot of people not really thinking of it as a satire.
Yeah, my dad said like that was a great movie. I'm gonna fight you now.
My dad said, "Don't talk about the club that we're."
I think there's this.
Don't talk about the family.
There's this like horseshoe theory of satire where like you can be too subtle with it or you can be too direct with it and people will miss it. Like there's a sweet spot from time to time, but I do think it can wrap back around. And like you're pointing out now, which it should be obvious, having Brad Pitt speak those words to you is like beating you over the head with it. But in 1999, it just sailed right past most people's brains.
Plus, he's so good at like we were talking before we started recording, he's so good at mise en scene and just the pacing and the editing that you stop thinking of Brad Pitt as Brad Pitt because the performance is so evocative, the story is so on rails. It's interesting. We've been talking about this, male loneliness epidemic. I keep saying pandemic.
Are you going to drag us to craft? Because also Fincher is a good filmmaker.
Don't need to, but I just like what Fincher said. There's a recent interview, I think 2023, that he talked about what we're talking about how people misinterpreted Fight Club. And his response was very Fincher-esque. I mean, I don't know if you watched any interviews of Fincher. He is kind of a troll. He says stuff that does not make sense. He's kind of like the Coen brothers, where it's like, so when you have that shot of the drain in Barton Fink, that means something, right? And they're like, I don't know what you're talking about. It's just a drain, man, and stuff like that. He is even more in that regard. Like, he thinks it's funny to say stuff like a dumb director would say, in all seriousness, just for one interview only. And then it's like, did that really happen? And one thing, when this feels like kind of like Mask Off, where he's like, no, this is actually a serious problem. I should respond to this, because he said like, it's fairly obvious that it's a critique of the Nietzschean Übermensch, as well as a cautionary tale about what to do with anger engendered by your disenfranchisement. Sorry. So it's very clear that he's like, it's a cautionary tale, one, and all of the excellent masculinity Übermensch stuff, that is, we're lampooning that specifically. So like, let's make it very clear.
With love, which is the ultimate act, I think, of an empathetic. He's saying your anger is justified. I can actually see and understand where you're coming from.
Sure.
Then and he was the like, thing you're applying it to is stupid, and that I will not.
Yeah.
And all these masculinists who take it and run with it, and Jordan Peterson and stuff, he's obviously outing. The one moment, I will take us to craft a little bit, because I think this moment is encapsulated almost perfectly at one moment in the movie, which is, I never got this. When he is when Edward Norton is crying into Bob's tits. Mm-hmm. And this is the first time that he's actually doing tears in the movie. And he like leans back, and we see that his tears have made a Rorschach test on Bob's chest, right? And it's kind of the perfect image for like a pain psychosis, but especially for someone who is an emotional pilgrim, so they can't, like, the Rorschach test is not useful to them.
And gender is confounding them at the moment.
It has to happen to a mom.
They're staring at a man's
or a woman
to understand themselves. Yeah,
tie that with the line later of like, we're a generation raised by women. Do you think another woman would help us? And it's like, yeah, motherfucker. Like, of course it would. Like, what are you talking about? You're just building all this. Oh, I know. That's
the thing is you're actually there. Like, there are avenues for mutual aid. Obviously, the whole reason Helena Bonham Carter's in the movie, That was a real human connection. What are the odds you would run into another woman who's so lonely that her solution was the same quirky, oddball, sitcom-esque offer of faking cancer and going to these places, and instead of reaching out to bond with her, you let her fuck your imaginary friend and then are jealous of them while you consider her your ultimate competition who you hate and are rivals with. So it's that whole thing of like, I thought you wanted human connection, man. No, but I want it this way by doing this. Well, you're misguided. Like, yeah, right. Yeah, you're putting too many strings on it. Or like Slide. I love Slide because like if he truly had been open to what came his way, the solution to his loneliness problem came immediately. It was Helena Bonham Carter, but he wasn't open to that. Like he wasn't sliding yet, right? But he was ready and prepared, arguably by the way he was raised, to slide into this weird incel cult.
But also it's interesting that Tyler Durden's, he also has the slide like he's saying, yes, let it take you, let the flow of the river take you, which is very Siddhartha, very Zen Buddhist, but also it can be manipulated to be used for tyranny or overt masculinity.
His Dark Night of the Soul is he loses control in Fight Club because he just wanted to destroy something beautiful. And I love that they're like in 1999, we need an actor who's just beauty incarnate. And they're like, Jared Leto, you will lead millions. You will anchor every hit franchise. You are the future Jared Leto.
At the time he was just a rock star, so it kind of makes sense, I guess.
Yeah, it was a little jarring now with like the whole weird cult bullshit around him and him being
clearly all white for a reason.
Yeah,
they are all white.
Yep.
I think that's got to be intentional.
Yep, for sure.
It's like there's other groups you could reach out to, and you don't. It doesn't occur to you, right? And that's. Yeah, it's made me just really look back at Fincher's discography, so to speak, and go like, I kind of need to rewatch all of Fincher, understanding now what a grim troll he is. I probably misread almost every Fincher movie.
I do love it when a director just like, and maybe they're trolling, maybe they're not, but when someone sees something in a film or is convinced there's something in a film and the director's just like, nah, man, the shot really just looked cool. Like, I don't know what to tell you. I do love that. And
how about that, smarty pants?
Yeah, like, or I don't even think it's like, oftentimes, like, I don't even mean it when they do it in like a smart ass way, but just when they're just like, no, man, like I just had this like idea for a shot, and I promise you there's not like layers upon layers upon layers like you want there to be, because sometimes a shot does just look cool. You know, I don't think that's what's going on here.
True.
I think
Vince Gilligan famously is like, I just thought it would be fun to put the camera there all the time.
Yeah. And you end up
don't read into it.
Yeah, and I also like, I know that's kind of like death of the author territory, but which I also enjoy as well. Which is like, okay, you may have done this unintentionally, but the end result is there is layers of symbolism there and interpretation that you can endlessly wax poetic about.
Yeah, and I do like trying to, and I feel like I've worked to develop the antenna, but it's always fun to go like, and I think they meant that one. Yeah. Meaning, like, I imagine at some point the team talked about this versus, I think I'm just reading into that. Because obviously at Cracked, we did a ton of that.
Sure.
Like, I don't think Pixar thinks Cars is in the post-apocalypse, but, Daniel O'Brien can prove it is or whatever. Speaking of, that's what I wanted to ask. Did you draw anything symbolic or extra meaning from why does his imaginary cool guy... So, oh no, I wrote it down. It's so, I think it's so they could do the laborious joke of we sell women's fat asses back to them. Is that why? Is that why it's soap?
Why it's soap?
Just so they could do the liposuction fat?
Probably.
I also think it's
okay.
Yeah.
I also
think it's a little bit
is
the
there
Jordan
anything
Peterson
about cleaning
thing.
society or being
it's like clean your room.
It's, I think
like he makes soap, but he doesn't use it. I don't know.
Maybe so. Yeah, I think it's like you could. Because they, he's pissing in rich people's food, right? Like there is
coming in the mushroom soup.
Yeah, and tells Helena Bonham Carter not to order the chowder at one point in the movie. Like, I think I think there is probably, that is the most direct thing there, is just that joke of like selling women's fat asses back to them. But there is a lot of layers. There's a lot of like tax the rich or, eat the rich kind of like symbolism to it for sure.
Soap is cheap to make. I think you can charge it a lot. Yeah.
I'd say that.
I also wanted to know. I meant to look it up whether because like he's also like Tyler Durden's a weird like trivia guy too. Like that's kind of his persona, where he's talking about like ancient
make napalm.
Yeah, like ancient peoples. The dead bodies were burnt here, and then it mixed with natural
in the
occurring
lake,
stuff in the ground, and then they got clean in the river and stuff. So like I meant to look that up to find out whether any of that was true, or if it's just true. Edward Norton's, if it's just part of the psychosis happening where he's just making up.
I was wondering how much does the narrator know about soap making an explosive?
Exactly.
For real, like, or whatever,
or are they just fictionalizing
or does Plonick even give a shit about that detail? Probably not, but
does it just sound cool? Does it just sound cool?
Yeah.
And is there
like,
how
does he know everything Tyler says? That means he can write great monologues on the fly in his head. But that's like, any movie with dissociative identity has that going on.
For sure.
By the way,
so you're a good writer, huh? Because you invented that
because that was good
guy. Yeah.
But by the way, just so if anyone was wondering, the all of the bomb making stuff, I think it's in the book, but I'm not sure. But I know for a fact that the movie adjusted the formulas so that no one would actually go home. They're not handing out anarchist cookbook kind of shit.
I think
probably
that's
good for a major motion picture.
For sure.
And more evidence that they actually fear toxic weaponized aggression more than think it's cool.
Very true.
But there is a hilarious amount of talking about Fincher as a troll in terms of the production of this movie. Stuff like Helena Bonham Carter did not know what grade school was, being British.
Oh, fuck.
So when she made that joke, she was like, oh shit, like when someone reminded her. The other thing is that
that's kind of,
that line only exists because of a bait and switch that Fincher did with the Fox executives, because he was like, I want the line here to be, Marla tells Norton, I want to have your abortion. And they were like, no, absolutely not. Absolutely not. And the story goes that Fincher was like, okay, I'll dumb it down. I'll make it less offensive.
He'll just say,
but I don't want this back and forth to happen anymore. We will not say that, but whatever I write, which will be written for the purpose that you're saying, you have to accept.
That's bad, because we're not going to shoot anymore. Funny.
And then the story goes that the Fox executives were like, immediately read the real line and they were like, this is worse. Like, we go back to the abortion one. And he was like, nope.
I love two abortions. I want an abortion. We all want abortion, but it's too late for abortion.
The power of contracts, people. Right. The power of contracts.
That's great. That's great.
Also love their fight decisions when he's like, who would you fight? Gandhi. Good choice. Why is it a good choice to fight Gandhi? These guys are fucking tools.
They really,
stupid answer.
Oh, what is the non-violence?
Well, because he doesn't like to fight. I see what you're doing there.
I did like the Hemingway and the William Shatner answers.
I like Hemingway is such a fucking like, that's of course what you'd say, right? I'd fight my dad. Okay,
I'd fight my dad.
And that was like, I appreciated the fighting my dad thing, because that I feel like that cuts to the core of so many men.
Again, he's like, if we get caught, the police commissioner will cut our balls off. It's like somewhere somewhere along the line, you became obsessed with your dad, your dick, your balls, like you can't unlock.
Exactly. Like there's so much. At the same, like, there's so much toxic bullshit in the movie, obviously satirizing it, but there's these moments of like earnestness between Tyler Durden and Edward Norton, and obviously like we end up knowing that it's him talking to himself essentially, but like when he just asks if he'll, he's like, just ask, man. And he's like, what are you talking about? He's like, just ask if you can stay with me. It's like it's okay to ask for help. You know,
trying to teach you. You could have reached out to Marla, but you could at least reach out to me. I'm you.
Also, just communication in general.
Exactly.
Communicate.
It's just this like there's these moments of genuine lesson to be learned about like it's okay to cry. You don't always have to run from pain. Pain can be interesting.
Yes. You could stay with it and see what happens.
Yeah.
That's what I think makes it a transcendent movie. Is it's not just Idiocracy, also a great movie, but doing a different, more shallow thing. It's not just going fuck this toxic masculinity. It's going fuck this toxic masculinity. But these guys are really hurting.
Yeah.
We should figure out how to address this in some way. It's like, it's a loving satire. It's not without compassion at all. The guys are like, you're rooting for them.
I think that's the best way of putting it. Michael, like it's compassionate about these guys while watching them go down this very stupid path, this very, very dumb, they think they're going to get answers doing this thing that's not going to bring them any more joy to their life because they're seeking external methods instead of, essentially like the lesson is, man, hey man, just try therapy next time. You don't have to end up in the hospital. You don't have to be Robert Paulson shot in the back of the head by a cop for.
You were so scared of connecting that you would only connect with delusion, and that led you down this.
Precisely.
And I love, living in consequences. I think there is subtly a very real wisdom about, and I think it extends beyond just men, but in this, of course, because of the framing, it lands on men, where he's like, no, really being a man, I would add human being of honor, is to accept that the things you do cause consequences, and then accept those consequences. And even structurally, like, I fucking love that this movie has a bonus fourth act where, like, again, to compare it to The Machinist, and I'm so sorry if I spoiled The Machinist retroactively for a listener, but similar reveal, or any movie that ends with "we were the same person," surprise, right? They always end right then, because that's the prestige. The whole reason we got your ticket money was this cool idea we had where it turns out we were the same person. Look in the mirror, you fool. Most of those stories end there. This movie has an additional 30 minutes after that point that is structurally wonky from like the clean, punchy 1, 2, 3 act structure. But the reason it's there is so that you feel that he has to fucking sit and stew in his consequences. Like, no, you don't just find out you're Tyler Durden, that blows our mind, we go home. You have to shoot yourself in the head to symbolically own, like, you have to eat the gun that you made, motherfucker. And I love that. Like, everything about this is about consequences, and it's telling American culture, these aimless, violent men who feel like they have nowhere to put their feelings are the consequence of how you comport your society. Like, they are also consequences.
Yeah. And
it's a good movie.
Structurally, as far
America's a fight club.
Fincher's so masterful at this as well. Like, you know that point in the movie, like after the reveal already happens, you somehow still have to get to that scene because that's where the movie opens. The movie opens with him and Tyler, like with the gun and stuff, and tied up in that chair. So like you still have to, like, you're like, damn, I remember that from the beginning of the movie. How the fuck are we gonna get there? And he does it, and he keeps you interested the whole time, even after the reveal. So just
using, which is, I guess, Polanyi techniques because they're in the book, but pretty standard techniques. I was surprised that it starts with a, let me tell you how I ended up in this situation. And it ends with a, I hope you cut the right wire on the bomb. So
it's like tropey.
Like, they're actually very standard storytelling techniques.
I got a theory, like, to kind of, because we kind of opened this podcast discussing kind of this collective or cultural shame around this movie, especially for people who may not have recently watched it. And I totally get it. Like, it's almost like a depiction of, if they weren't just blowing stuff up for anti-capitalist reasons, but they were doing like racist shit. This feels like documentary on Proud Boys, or it could be, right? Like it feels
through modernized, it looks like a guy got
bad.
Radicalized before the internet and formed a little cell.
Yep.
Yeah.
And so it's obviously that we've gotten to the point with Proud Boys or like internet trolls in general, just doing things for the lulz. I mean, look at like Charlie Kirk's killer and stuff like that. Like, but to me,
I believe that Trump is here for the lulz. Like the main reason.
Yeah,
Trump
exactly.
Is supported
it's the shitting.
I think it's funny that the libs hate him. Yeah.
And but I think there's also something that we may not have talked about. Maybe it's because we watched it at 14, but I would say this covers a lot of Gen X films, like we talk about a lot on our Paul Thomas Anderson podcast. Also The Matrix and the Wachowskis, like being like basically made a movie going like, we can't be trans in this society, so let's just make The Matrix. And then they made The Matrix and everyone loved it, and they're like, oh shit, we can do what we want. I just love that story for them. But like,
I love that Proud Boys were like, we can do what we want. Red pill means sexism now. And you're like, so anything's fucking anything. Yes. All right.
So there's a perfect, the thing is that this movie, at least for me it was, but like I think for a lot of us it's this perfect teenage thought, because it's like obviously about like the first act is about like consumerism and the breaking down of social rules. I think all teens have a phase at some point. It's part of growing up where we have these like monumental psychological like leaps. Sometimes it's punk music. For some people, it's Catcher in the Rye. This existentialism or even nihilism that like kind of comes from at some point in your formative years. We have this collective like learning. You fall in love for the first time. You sit in nature. We've all sat in nature and been like, holy shit, there's something God spiritual happening now. And I think I'd argue that we all have a moment where rebellion is such a shift from our childhood, like you do this, this is the way society is ordered, that we just do it for the sake of rebellion, right? That's what teens are. And to speak to all these formative, when we look back at that and how hook, line, and sinker we're all kind of convinced that this movie had, because this movie does nail that intention or that thought, I think, it fuels a lot of the misunderstanding and reconstitution of meaning for people in the modern age of this film, because they feel like, it's like a bad haircut. I look back and I see myself and it's like I have shame about it.
Right.
And I think that added with the Proud Boy mentality and the fact that it's so like on the nose of like, we could correct this and we didn't.
Still didn't.
Both of those shames make us not like this movie, when in actuality the movie is not doing anything of the sort.
Crazy on point, considering it's not going, and this happened to him because of the internet. Because there's tons of movies about how the internet does this, but this was even before that. He's getting this just from like in-flight magazines and IKEA ads and shit. I love that by the end he goes, so what do you want? Your job back, sitting at the condo watching sitcoms? And as a guy with a 9-year-old baby who's unemployed, that sounds amazing. Condo, job, sitcoms. It's great life. There's nothing wrong with that life.
I can roll it.
And yet I also understand the bitter pain of capitalist ennui. Sure, I do. But like, to Abe's point, what a beautiful synthesis of what it actually is to be mature, which I think is what he's often using masculine as code for, which is, yes, part of maturing is realizing no one's the boss of you. That is part of maturing.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
But the end of maturation is realizing you're the boss of you. And you have to report to yourself.
Right.
It's not no one's the boss of you. Let's all go cuckoo bananas. Or if it is, you're not that mature. You didn't reach the end of the journey.
The owning of consequences, like you keep referencing, is like, you are the boss of you, and you are responsible for making sure your consequences are as off,
or you can
as
sleep
least
with them
painful
or
as possible for the most part. Hopefully.
And I think Abe's right that like most of us have a middle phase where you have to wild out to prove my boss isn't the boss of me. My parents aren't the boss of me. This government isn't the boss of me.
Right.
And then when you're like 30, you're like, okay, I got that. No
and
one's the
people
boss
don't
of me.
get it
I have to get my shit together.
There's a reason we have like midlife crisis or quarter life crisis, because I think that they're discussing the thing that I think I'm talking about, which is that we at some point something cracks because you realize there's moments in your life where you look around yourself and you say, what am I doing?
Then it becomes No Country for Your Old Men, where you're like, there's no boss. I need a boss. I
need a boss. Yeah, fill a hole. Yeah, there's a lot of, I think that's like, it took me a while to kind of suss out exactly what I think this film is doing versus what I think the audience in modern age and self-reflexivity on it and stuff like that. I think it's a bundled up mess, but I think we do this a lot with a lot of these films that like are pushing it because we're like, it's a little awkward. It's a little like eye rolly. And the reason we use that is because it feels dated, but it doesn't mean that the statements aren't true. Because
honestly,
there is
what felt the most dated to me was that at this era, and he's good at it too, Palahniuk is low key just like Joss Whedon. Or am I the only one who's like, Palahniuk writes like Whedon in a way that is out of fashion now? Like the line with a gun barrel between your teeth, you speak only in vowels, or now a question of courtesy, shall I give you the ass or give you the crotch? As I pass in an unthinkably luxurious airplane. I couldn't believe how much legroom they had.
Right.
But I actually found the most dated thing was that it's written really 90s.
The dialogue.
Just that like Palahniuk's bag of tricks is sort of these themes, which I think he's good on, really overly witty dialogue, which I like, but it's starting to feel dated because we don't do it as much anymore. Sure. And then I do love that Palahniuk randomly is like, I also want to be a Sam Raimi, where no matter what story we're doing, there's at least two really gross things. Like in this one, it's the fat bag ripping open. Section. Or of course, people know his story, choke or whatever. I love the Palahniuk's always like, oh wait, I forgot, something gross has to happen. What if this guy vomits a coat hanger or some shit?
So one thing that I and I'm assuming this line is in the book. It's only after we've lost everything that we're free to do anything, which it's just another way of saying, I just thought it was funny. It's just repackaging freedom's just another word for nothing left to lose. Like that's all he's saying there. And it's something that was said, 30 years prior, written by Chris Christopherson, sung by Janis Joplin, but like no young man would ever hear that line and take anything away from it. But in this movie, the way it's packaged, the way it's delivered is just like this profound genius moment. And I was just like, oh, that's some hippie shit, man. Like
that's things you won't end up owning you.
That's hippie shit.
To balance a head with to hammer a head with a balanced attack, you must balance a tack hammer on your head. It's a mystery, man.
And yes, there is. And again, with all these things, like, there's no absolutism in any of these words of wisdom. Like you have to, like moderation is the key to everything, but there is truth in that. You know what I mean? Like there is truth.
Wisdom is there.
And again, Michael, like I think you nailed
apply it at the right situation. That's on you to figure out.
like owning the responsibilities. Like if you want these comforts in life, if you want to do well and stuff, you do have responsibilities, and you have to own the consequences of having those responsibilities. So again, like I liked that, and I liked the thing about the way Brad Pitt is depicted in this, the way Tyler Durden's like aesthetic is, and I don't know how it is in the book. I did read Choke a long time ago, but I never read Fight Club. It has this, what we would have called like 10, 15 years ago, metrosexualness to it that is like embodied by the Andrew Tates and like the
take care of yourself.
He's got the mesh tank top and the
this like flamboyant style that is like it's this bizarre depiction that is like is visible in a lot of the manosphere content creators today, while at the same time they are using gay as like a derogatory term, and it's like, bro, but
they're like peacocking because they read the game, so they're wearing a similar outfit.
It's this weird thing, and like I don't know what the Fincher. I think Fincher was just going for like depicting this guy as like not really giving a shit, like being comfortable no matter what he's wearing, and like being completely himself. But now you
like
see,
a Brad Pitt type. He can't look bad no matter what he throws
no matter
on.
what he wears. No, like these big women's glasses and the fur coat,
but he can pull it off. Yeah.
Yes, and these guys today try to embody that, but you can tell they are so uncomfortable because they're not fucking. They're not Brad Pitt. Right. Nobody is. And it's just a weird like calling of a shot from like 30 years ago, almost 25 years ago, that again, something else that they nailed.
I love the mixed bag of nailed it, didn't nail it. Like there's a point where he goes, all of this talking about capitalist cycle and consumerism is just a distraction from for real issues in the world like poverty, crime, murder. True. But then he says, and having a guy's name on my underwear. What? Why? Because that's gay? You mean because Calvin Klein makes underwear? Right. That's your problem? It's just like hit, miss.
Yes.
And that's what makes it slightly nuanced, and that's what makes us all not able to ingest it in America. But it's
I love Will's point just in that like there's this, maybe I'm like taking too much pride in the embellishment, but like there's something I love that you can kind of directly draw a line from Brad Pitt's like aesthetic and his style and say this is closer to drag than it is what Andrew Tate is. Yet if you were to take Andrew Tate and say who is the most masculine like portrayal, like most of them would say Brad Pitt.
Brad Pitt in Fight Club and Tom Cruise in Magnolia, but I haven't seen that because I'm a troglodyte. Yeah,
yeah, exactly.
But if I had, I would have missed the point. No, I would love Tom Cruise.
But goddamn, like
I also think. Oh, go ahead. Sorry,
I was just gonna say Brad Pitt's like him eating in this movie. Throughout, I know that's a thing that he does, like that he knows he looks 11. Good to it, but he's eating the first time Edward Norton calls him on the phone, he's eating over the phone. Like he's so fucking good in this thing. Whenever he gets the shit beat out of him by that gangster guy and he lifts his own leg to cross his legs in that moment, it's like,
right.
Who, by the way,
I remember that.
Because Ed Norton actually, because if you that it was all Ed Norton and Tyler was never there. I believe Lou was a paid actor. I don't think an old school 30s style mobster actually came in and got so scared that he got chased off. I'm headcanon that that's a false flag.
How much of it is smoke and mirrors?
How does Ed Norton know if he's rigging shit? He doesn't even know what he's doing.
Right.
What's telling is that it's like, here, don't talk about Fight Club. It's like, like a lot of second act, third act stuff is because he always, Edward Norton hits a brick wall where Tyler has already ousted him out. We knew you'd say that, so it's that, the reason that this persists, the reason the cult works is that no one can actually, it's so compartmentalized, kind of like, I don't know, the military, where it's no one can actually interact and have a real conversation because the protocol has to be obeyed.
But they are telling people about Fight Club because it expands, meaning the only reason they're so on point and tight-lipped around him, in retrospect, hilariously, is because he's Tyler Durden, so they think he's testing them.
Right.
Otherwise, they're probably telling their buddies about Fight Club.
Because they think it's awesome.
Yeah. I loved that in retrospect. I'm like, they're just like that with him because he's the boss. He is the boss now.
Yeah, you are the top of the pyramid now. Yeah.
And I also think, and this is my last note that I definitely want to say, was just like, I do think it's intentional that of all the real wisdom we shouted out, that there's nuggets of real wisdom all throughout. The one moment that the camera and everything and the score conspires and Tyler Durden goes, listen to me, this is the important resonant line. Look at me. And the camera looks at him and starts shaking. The line is, you are the all singing, all dancing crap of the world, which is meaningless. That means nothing. There's no wisdom in it. It's a hollow. That you exist. Yeah. What does that mean? It doesn't mean anything. I think it's very like literally intentional. Nietzsche. I think it's intentional that his wisdom, when he means to hold forth and spout wisdom, is all stupid. But then incidentally along the road, there's wisdom everywhere.
Yeah.
It's just not all coming from the guy you anointed as your dick god.
That's the point. The anointing is the problem.
Yeah, that's very true. The moment you dub someone a leader or someone claiming to have all the answers, that's immediately where you go. It's the cult of personality thing. It's just ultimately it's a tale about turning it like following a cult of personality down a path somewhere. I mean, it's literally, it's Trump. It's, I hate to bring everything back to the current moment in time, but it's just so embodies so many classic tales of warning and foreshadowing of like, hey, you really want to fuck up your society, go down this path. So like let's what are those, what are called, tales, what phrase am I?
Cautionary tales?
Caution, thank you, good lord, I forgot the word cautionary.
I always think of, what is it called now? The Torment Nexus tales.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. Don't build the Torment Nexus. Great news, guys. I think it's just like the that's on a very base level, very surface level thing. If nothing else, just take away from it that you shouldn't follow these guys that are telling you how to be a man. You just like they don't have the answers. They don't.
But I love that it's also like, but not everything they say will be false or without merit.
100%.
And if you can't tell the difference, then you're not a man yet.
Yeah.
Like that's the actual hard truth of
the
Fight Club.
gatekeeping. Yeah.
It's like, you have to develop your own sense of critical thinking.
For sure.
Sorry.
Which is why you have those scenes where, Bob and others are waiting at the doorstep and are like, even though they're being told you're a piece of shit, go home, they have to stay there. They have to prove it. They have to prove it on the
Bob
wrong
is the one
terms.
who's immediately like, okay, you reject me. I accept that you reject me. And he goes, no, we accept you. He's the one that dies.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah,
so again,
right.
it's this microcosm of, that's the guy who is the most loyal of all. Guess what the most happens to the most loyal guy? He's cannon fodder.
Right.
Like, that's the tale of the most loyal guy.
For sure.
In most situations.
And I do think it's interesting that like the moments of clarity that Edward Norton has along the way, whenever he's like back to being himself, he's like, what the fuck are you guys doing? No, shut the fuck up. Stop saying this. Like,
was I sleeping? Have I slept? Becomes a recurring,
but
what
he's like,
done,
he sees what Tyler Durden is doing when he's not around, and he's like, you guys are fucking idiots. Like why are you listening to this guy? It's like, no, this guy is a man. He had a family. He has a name. Like, the moment he realizes what he's planning to do with blowing all those buildings up, he's like freaking the fuck out. Like, these moments of clarity are like, he actually does see what is wrong with all of this. He followed Tyler to a certain extent, like the little nuggets of wisdom, the clarity about, these things are not you. You shouldn't, don't let capitalism dictate who you are as a man. But then it goes so far down the path that he's like, no, well, this is fucking insane. I thought we were just like fighting, whatever. We were doing this kind of like this like weird sport thing.
Honestly, it's almost therapy. It's basically self-harm model. Or it's like, I was depressed and couldn't feel anything, so I started cutting just to feel alive.
Right.
I didn't know we were going to bomb the White House or whatever.
Exactly. So I do find it like that, like the same guy that's doing all this is the one that's like trying to call it off. Like it is a good, again, cautionary tale, but it's very easy if you're not paying attention or you're not actually like understanding the point of the movie to just go, oh, he's like spoiling everything. He's ruining everything. It's like pulling for, Walter White in Breaking Bad, and realizing, and then like you
watch a whole different episode. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
That was my main great series. But my main problem was, in season 5, we never sit with the consequences of the fact that he flooded his community with drugs.
Right.
Like, I thought his son should have gotten addicted to meth. That would have been the big, sensible, poetic payoff of that.
For sure.
Like, he never had the consequences of the thing he did. He broke bad.
Realizing Jesse Pinkman is like the one that's like being rational here, and Walter White is the villain of the show is how you should rewatch Fight Club and understand that like
and then of course for El Camino to reveal that they're both the same guy, and Mike Ehrmantraut is also them.
Is Gus Fring, and
none of this
he's also
and
a car.
It's just a thing Ben Skilligan thought of.
It's just
I would love a reveal that treats it like a serious twist where they're like, by the way, did you know?
It's
None
written.
Of this even happened.
It's a script. I wrote it down, and then asked people to do it, and we filmed it.
Saul Goodman is a figment of Skylar White's imagination.
No, I bought
that's a good twist. I just want to notice a few things that I didn't notice before, that if you are going to now, because of this episode, go and rewatch Fight Club, one of the cool things that I noticed is like how much they, in the intro of Marla, show her as like magical, standing in busy streets, doing whatever she wants, taking things from...
I saw that too, yeah.
And we can talk about how like that is a character thing, but I think it's like Fincher going, they're totally going to guess that it's unreliable narrator. So I'm going to make you think that she might not be real. She might be just in his brain, and then dispel it immediately in Act 2. You're like, no, she's absolutely real. All to dispel the thought around Tyler.
Oh, I guess people in this are real. I think it might do both, or I also thought it could be just highlighting that the whole time you were overlooking the obvious solution. Like literally for a fucked up guy like you, she's your manic pixie dream girl. She's magic.
Exactly.
Right.
And why don't you date her? You said you were lonely. And you said you're lonely and not gay. Why don't you date Helena Bonham Carter? And he's like, I hate that bitch. And you're like, so do you see how your
ego?
Yeah, she just represents you, man. Like that's it.
Yeah. And you also like have the same language and lexicon. Like, I'm sure your love language is similar, but you fucked it up by being cold to her all the time. Yeah. And that's messed up. Yeah. So I thought that was pretty cool. There's also obviously the ambiguous framing stuff. There's so many shots. Almost, I think every single shot of Tyler is like, it's either a 2-shot where it's a group of people, or he's not shown in any over the shoulder shots. So like
you can unwrite him from the shot.
You can unwrite him from every shot. There's a space. You can evacuate him from the space, and the shot still
stands. The third party characters don't make eye contact with him and stuff like that.
Yeah, there's obviously Easter eggs that if you watch the DVD commentary, I think they're pretty popular at this point. You know, like almost everyone, when there's like doormen and people in, you know, taxi cabs, they never look at Tyler.
Oh, that's interesting. So nobody makes eye contact with Tyler. None of the, like, all those people, and that's probably why.
It might happen stray here or there, but they clearly tried to do a thing like that.
That's great. I like that.
I also really like the meta joke that can't, like, it literally in a Deadpool way breaks the movie because he'd have to know he's in a movie. But when they cut back, when we reach the opening scene again, Ed Norton's line is, and he goes like, "You got any last words?" Again, his line is, "I still can't think of anything." Flashback humor.
yeah.
Flashback humor. All right, cool. Do you have any last thoughts, Will, before we dismount?
Nah, I still can't think of anything.
Yeah, I think we covered Fight Club pretty well.
I don't think Abe... I was just quoting Edward Norton again.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think. Let's see. I think either I got to everything or you guys covered the other points I wanted to. Yeah, this definitely deserves a second viewing if you haven't visited this in a while. It's a killer movie. I really enjoyed it.
And shout out to the time my brother sat me down in SLO and played all of the Pixies for me as one of the highlights of my life and explained to me why the Pixies are so important and good.
When did that song come out, by the way?
You're right, they are. Doolittle is one of the most important albums ever. It really is. Can we, I mean...
Not 88.
88.
We hardly need to plug Kristi Yamaguccimane. But where are you most active? Well, because I fled Twitter. I don't think you did.
I'm on Blue Sky.
Where are you posting most of your...
I'm on Blue Sky at wapplehouse.bluesky.
Are you on X, the everything app?
Yeah, still there as well. I didn't completely flee. Some of us still stayed, and I do carry some shame with that.
But please do. One of the better follows.
Well, I appreciate that. No specials coming out. I don't have any books dropping. I don't make albums. I just shitpost, and that's it. And I
love the work.
I work at a body shop and listen to a lot of podcasts. I do host a podcast called Jort Center. You can find it on all the places. And yeah, it's Abe, you and I were talking about this before we started. Like I do it because I like those guys, and we've been friends for a long time, and it's just buddies talking to each other. So
a microphone is just there.
Yeah,
it just happens to be there.
Precisely right. So, but yeah, thank you, fellas, for having me, and thanks for picking this movie.
It's an absolute joy to talk to you, man, and put a face to the name.
I appreciate that. Vice versa.
All right. Well, there's nothing else really. This is on the free feed. If you're listening on the free feed, reminder to go to patreon.com/smallbeans and help us out so we can keep making these things. I have nothing else, so I guess we'll just show a big frame of cock at the end of this podcast. An audio version? How would that even work?